Welcome to the very first episode of Top Y Combinator Startups, Summer 2025 batch. In the world of technology, every so often a gold rush begins. Right now, that gold rush is artificial intelligence. And while many are focused on finding the next big gold nugget, the next foundational model or killer app, the truly enduring fortunes are often made by those selling the picks and shovels.
Exactly. That's what we're here to do. Analyze the tool makers, the infrastructure builders, and the quiet visionaries who are enabling this revolution. In this podcast, we'll be dissecting the most promising and highly sought-after startups from Y Combinator's Summer 2025 batch. We're going to go deep into the founders, their technology, their strategy, and what makes them stand out in one of the most competitive environments on Earth.
Today, we're starting with a company that perfectly embodies that picks and shovels principle. It operates in a space that's essential for nearly every AI company, yet it's a function that, if done right, is completely invisible to the end user: billing. We're talking about a startup named Autumn.
It might not sound as glamorous as building autonomous robots, but getting billing right is the difference between a brilliant piece of technology and a viable business. We'll explore who the founders are and how their backgrounds give them a unique advantage. We'll break down what their product actually does and why it's such a critical piece of the puzzle for modern SaaS companies. We'll also examine their unique moat, their impressive early traction, and ultimately answer the question, why is Autumn one of the most talked about companies to come out of this YC batch?
Let's start with the team. The founders are Ayush Rodriguez and John Yo. Rodriguez is coming from a product manager role at Checkout.com, a major player in the online payment space. So he has lived and breathed the complexities of fintech from a product and strategy perspective.
And his co-founder, John Yo, is a computer science graduate from Imperial College London. That combination is potent. You have deep, practical industry knowledge of the problem space from Rodriguez, paired with strong technical execution capability from Yo. Both of them have a history in fintech and developer tools, which isn't just a coincidence. It's what we call founder market fit. They aren't outsiders looking in. They've experienced the exact pain point they are now solving.
And that pain point is immense, particularly in the industry they're targeting: B2B billing infrastructure for AI companies. For a traditional SaaS company, billing might be a relatively simple monthly or annual subscription. But for an AI company, it's a chaotic matrix of variables. You're not just selling a seat, you're selling API calls, GPU usage by the second, data processing per megabyte, or tokens consumed by a large language model. It's not a flat fee, it's a dynamic, usage-based model that can change constantly.
Trying to build a system to track all of that in real time is a nightmare for a young company. Your best engineers, who should be working on your core AI product, are instead spending weeks, sometimes months, building and maintaining a complex, brittle billing system. It's a massive distraction and a huge technical debt liability. Every time the marketing team wants to launch a new pricing tier or a promotional credit system, the engineers have to go back in and perform major surgery on the application's core code.
This is where Autumn comes in. At its core, it's an open-source billing platform built to work directly with Stripe. This is key. They aren't trying to replace Stripe, they're building a sophisticated layer on top of it. Using Autumn, a developer can implement incredibly complex, usage-based pricing models with just a few lines of code. It handles all the messy logic, subscriptions, pay-as-you-go credits, access to specific features based on billing tiers, and it does it all in real time.
Let's use an analogy to make this clearer. Imagine your AI application is a high-performance car. The engine is your core AI model. Stripe is the gas station. It's the established, trusted utility for processing payments. Before Autumn, to figure out how much fuel you've used, you'd have to build your own custom fuel gauge, flow meters, and a payment calculator right into the engine block itself. If you ever wanted to change how you measure fuel, say from miles per gallon to kilowatt hours per mile for an electric version, you'd have to re-engineer the entire engine. It's inefficient and incredibly risky.
A fantastic analogy. So what does Autumn do?
Autumn provides a universal plug-and-play dashboard and fuel management computer. It snaps right in between your engine and the gas station. It has all the sophisticated sensors and logic built in. Now, you can easily track usage by the millisecond, offer fuel credits, create different performance tiers, and you never have to touch the core engine code again. The pricing logic is decoupled from the core application. This gives companies immense flexibility to experiment with pricing, which is a critical lever for growth, without bogging down their engineering team.
And this leads directly to their unique advantage, their moat. The first part of that moat is what you just described, the technical value of decoupling the pricing logic. But the second and perhaps more strategic part is their distribution model. They are open source and built on Stripe.
Let's break that down. Being open source for a developer-focused tool is a brilliant move. It immediately builds trust. Developers can go to GitHub, read the code, and see exactly what it does. There are no black boxes. It lowers the barrier to adoption to practically zero. A single developer at a small startup can try it out and get it running in an afternoon without needing to talk to a salesperson or get a budget approved. This bottom-up adoption model is incredibly powerful.
And building on Stripe is equally astute. They aren't asking companies to rip out their existing payment processor. They're saying, keep using Stripe, the industry standard that you already trust with your money. We just make it infinitely more powerful for your specific use case. This massively reduces the friction and perceived risk of adoption. They are inserting themselves into a pre-existing massive ecosystem and becoming the go-to solution for a very specific high-growth segment of that ecosystem.
This strategy is clearly working, which brings us to their traction. The numbers are, for a company at this stage, incredibly strong. Autumn is already being used by hundreds of developers. More importantly, it's been adopted by approximately 40 other Y Combinator companies.
That last point can't be overstated. The YC ecosystem is one of the most influential and tightly knit networks in the tech world. When a significant number of YC startups all start using the same tool, it creates a powerful signal to the rest of the market and to investors. It's a vote of confidence from some of the smartest builders in the industry. It proves they've achieved a very strong product-market fit within a cohort of tastemakers.
And it's not just about user numbers. They're already processing millions in transactions. This demonstrates that their system is not just a developer toy. It's robust, secure, and trusted enough to handle real money at a meaningful scale. It's no surprise that the team is currently in the process of raising a new seed round. The investor appetite for a company with this kind of traction in this hot of a market will be immense.
So, to summarize why Autumn is so sought after, it's the convergence of several powerful factors. First, they are providing critical picks and shovels infrastructure for the booming AI industry. They are a pure-play enabler of the biggest tech trend of the decade.
Second, they have a brilliant go-to-market strategy. The combination of being open source and building on top of a dominant platform like Stripe creates a nearly frictionless adoption path and a powerful distribution channel.
Third, they have demonstrated undeniable product-market fit. Their rapid adoption within the hypercritical YC ecosystem is the strongest proof you could ask for at this stage. And finally, the founders themselves have the perfect blend of experience to tackle this specific problem.
It all comes together to form a compelling picture of a company that is in the right place, at the right time, with the right team and the right product. They are not just a feature, they are a fundamental building block for the next generation of software companies.
Autumn is laying down the financial railroad tracks that the entire AI gold rush will run on. It's a foundational play. And speaking of foundational plays, the infrastructure story doesn't end with billing. Once you can charge for your AI product, you face an even bigger challenge. How do you actually deploy and manage it at scale, especially as applications move from simple API calls to complex autonomous agents?
That's a perfect transition. If Autumn is handling the financial infrastructure, the plumbing for the money, our next episode will focus on a company that's building the operational infrastructure, the very framework for deploying this next wave of AI. We'll be talking about a company that aims to do for AI agents what Vercel did for web development, turning weeks of complex DevOps work into a single click.
Indeed. We'll be diving into Dedalus Labs and their ambitious plan to build the definitive cloud platform for hosting, orchestrating, and deploying autonomous AI agent workflows. Join us next time on Top Y Combinator Startups Summer 2025 Batch. Welcome back to Top Y Combinator Startups Summer 2025 Batch. In our last episode, we explored Autumn, a company providing the essential picks and shovels for the AI gold rush by simplifying complex billing. We saw how crucial that underlying infrastructure is. Today, we're moving up the stack from how you bill for AI to how you build and run the next generation of AI itself.
Exactly. We're shifting from the financial plumbing to the operational backbone. The conversation in AI is rapidly moving beyond single prompt, single response models to something far more dynamic: autonomous AI agents. These are systems designed to perform complex, multi-step tasks with minimal human supervision. Think not just of an AI that can answer a question, but one that can plan a marketing campaign, execute it, and then report on the results.
And that leap from a simple tool to an autonomous system introduces a monumental wave of new engineering challenges. It's no longer just about calling an API. It's about building, deploying, and managing what are essentially autonomous digital employees. This is a fundamentally new and difficult problem. So today, we'll be dissecting the company from the latest YC batch that's tackling this head-on, Dedalus Labs.
We're going to break down what it really means to deploy production-grade AI agents, exploring the immense underlying complexity involved. We'll look at the core technical hurdles like hosting, orchestration, auto-scaling, and the increasingly vital concept of multi-LM routing. Then we'll dive into how Dedalus Labs proposes to solve this, positioning itself as a critical infrastructure layer for this entire emerging ecosystem.
The core question we're really asking today is this: as AI evolves from a tool into a workforce, who is building the cities, the power grids, and the logistical networks for that workforce to operate in? That's the foundational layer we're investigating. And it's a critical one, because without it, the promise of autonomous AI could remain stuck in the lab.
That's the perfect framing. The potential for AI agents is immense, but the operational reality is brutal. When you move from a simple chatbot to an agent that has to execute a series of tasks, you're suddenly dealing with a host of new variables. For instance, where does this agent live? It needs a hosting environment. What happens if it gets a sudden surge of tasks? You need it to scale automatically. That's auto-scaling. What if it needs to use different tools or APIs to complete its job? That's orchestration, the process of coordinating all these moving parts.
And these aren't just buzzwords, they represent significant engineering headaches. A developer might be brilliant at designing the logic for an AI agent, but that's completely different from building a resilient, scalable, and secure infrastructure to run it on. That requires expertise in cloud computing, DevOps, and distributed systems, a skill set many AI-focused teams might not have in-house. This is the friction point.
Precisely, and it gets even more complex. Consider the idea of multi-LM routing. There's no single large language model that is the best or most cost-effective for every single task. A simple classification task might be best handled by a small, fast open-source model, while a complex creative writing task might require a frontier model like GPT-4. An intelligent agent should be able to dynamically choose the right tool for the job. Multi-LM routing is the process of building a system that can intelligently route different subtasks to different models to optimize for cost, speed, and performance.
Which again is incredibly complex to build from scratch. You need to benchmark models, manage different APIs, handle failures, and build a logic layer that makes these routing decisions in real time. We're talking about building a sophisticated internal air traffic control system just to manage how your agent thinks and acts.
Think of it like this. Trying to deploy a single powerful AI agent today is like trying to build a modern factory from scratch in an empty field. First, you have to pour the concrete foundation. That's your basic hosting and server setup. Then you have to build the factory walls and roof, which is the security and networking layer. Inside, you need to install a complex assembly line with multiple robotic arms, conveyor belts, and quality control stations that all have to work in perfect sync. That's the orchestration piece.
And the robotic arms aren't all the same. One might be for heavy lifting, another for delicate welding, and a third for painting. You need a central control system that knows which robot to use for each step of the manufacturing process. That's your multi-LM router.
Exactly. And what happens when a massive order comes in? You can't just tell the workers to work faster. You need the entire assembly line to scale up instantly and seamlessly. That's auto-scaling. And you need to do all of this while ensuring the lights stay on, the logistics of parts coming in and products going out are managed, and the whole system is constantly monitored for failure. Building all of this custom infrastructure for every single product you want to manufacture would be incredibly slow and expensive.
So where does Dedalus Labs fit into this analogy?
Dedalus Labs is the company that comes in and offers you a state-of-the-art, prefabricated, fully managed factory on demand. You don't need to worry about the concrete, the electrical grid, or the logistics. You just bring your unique product blueprint, your AI agent's logic, and plug it into their platform. They provide the entire end-to-end infrastructure. With a single click, you get the factory, the assembly line, the specialized robots, and the system that automatically scales and manages everything. They've turned weeks or months of brutal infrastructure engineering into a single deployment step.
That's a powerful value proposition. They're abstracting away the immense complexity. This is where their tagline, Vercel for AI agents, becomes so potent. For developers, Vercel is a household name. It took the pain out of deploying front-end web applications. It transformed a complex process involving servers, builds, and global distribution into a seamless Git-push experience. Dedalus Labs is aiming to do the exact same thing for this new, even more complex paradigm of autonomous agents.
And a key part of their strategy, which mirrors Vercel's success, is how they approach the developer experience. They offer an OpenAI-compatible SDK. This is a very strategic choice. It means that developers who are already familiar with building applications using OpenAI's tools can adopt Dedalus with minimal friction. They don't have to learn an entirely new set of tools from scratch. It's like telling a factory designer they can use all their existing standard blueprints and machinery.
Let's talk about their architecture. They mention a broker architecture. What does that mean in this context, and why is it important?
The broker pattern in software architecture is a model that uses an intermediary component, the broker, to manage communication between different parts of a system. Instead of every component talking directly to every other component, which creates a tangled mess of dependencies, they all talk to the broker. The broker then routes the messages and coordinates the actions. In the context of Dedalus Labs, this is crucial for flexibility. It allows them to easily plug in different LLMs, different vector databases, or different external tools without the agent's core logic needing to change. It's the central hub that directs traffic.
So this architecture is what enables that multi-LLM routing we discussed, and critically prevents vendor lock-in. A developer isn't just tied to using one specific LLM provider. The broker can route requests to Anthropic, Google, an open-source model, or whoever offers the best performance for a given task. That flexibility is a massive selling point for developers who want to build resilient and future-proof applications.
Absolutely. It decouples the what from the how. The developer defines what the agent needs to accomplish, and the Dedalus platform, via its broker architecture, figures out how to best execute it using the available resources. This abstraction is the key to their entire value proposition. They're selling simplicity and flexibility in a domain defined by complexity and rigidity.
So when we look at why Dedalus Labs is so sought after, despite being very early stage, it's because they are providing a foundational piece of infrastructure for what many believe is the next major wave of software. The shift to autonomous agents is as significant as the shift from desktop to web or from web to mobile. Each of those shifts required a new generation of developer tools and platforms.
And they are offering a solution that resonates deeply with the core pain point of developers. They are reducing a process that would take a skilled team weeks of complex, undifferentiated heavy lifting, building scaling mechanisms, load balancing, orchestration logic, into a few clicks. That's a 10x or even 100x improvement in efficiency. In the startup world, that kind of speed and leverage is everything.
The key takeaway here is that progress in technology isn't just about the flashy end product. It's about the tools and infrastructure that enable thousands of developers to build those products. Dedalus Labs has identified a critical bottleneck in the deployment of AI agents, the operational complexity, and is building the definitive platform to solve it. They're not just building an application, they're building the factory for a whole new class of applications.
It's a classic picks and shovels play, but for a paradigm that is still in its infancy. They are betting that the future is autonomous and multi-agent, and they are building the core infrastructure that will be required to make that future a reality for developers everywhere.
And this leads us to an interesting next question. Once these agents are deployed and creating things, whether it's code, marketing copy, or user interfaces, how do we know if what they're creating is any good? How do we measure the quality of AI-generated output, especially in subjective fields like design?
That's a fascinating and difficult problem. If an agent produces a marketing plan, you can measure its success with metrics like click-through rates. But if it produces a logo or a website layout, quality becomes much harder to quantify. That's a perfect setup for our next episode, where we'll be diving into Design Arena, a company creating a unique solution to benchmark and evaluate the aesthetic quality of AI-generated designs, building a critical data moat in the process.
It sounds like we'll be moving from the infrastructure that runs the agents to the data that teaches them what good looks like. I'm looking forward to it. Welcome to Top Y Combinator Startups, Summer 2025 batch. In our last episode, we explored the foundational layer of the AI agent revolution with Dedalus Labs, the picks and shovels, the sheer infrastructure needed to deploy autonomous AI. But once you have that powerful infrastructure, a deeper, more philosophical question emerges. How do you ensure what the AI builds is actually good?
Exactly. It's one thing to build an AI that can code a website in seconds. It's another entirely to build one that can create a website that's beautiful, intuitive, and emotionally resonant. We've cracked the code on logic, but what about taste? How do you quantify something as subjective and deeply human as aesthetic quality? That's the mystery we're exploring today.
And the company leading us down this fascinating rabbit hole is Design Arena. We're going to dive into how they are tackling the challenge of teaching AI good design, what a crowdsourced benchmark for aesthetics actually looks like, and why creating a proprietary dataset of human preference could be one of the most valuable moats in the entire generative AI industry.
This is such a critical next step in the conversation. If last week was about the AI's hands, its ability to build, this week is about training its eyes and its heart. It's about moving from pure function to form and feeling, which is essential for AI to truly graduate from a tool to a creative partner.
Let's start with the core problem. Generative AI is astonishingly proficient. It can produce images, user interfaces, and even videos that are technically perfect. But as the founders of Design Arena point out, the most advanced models can pass the bar exam but still generate UIs with white text on a white background. There's a glaring gap.
That's the perfect illustration of the issue. Current AI models are trained on vast datasets of what is, all the images, websites, and designs that already exist. This training teaches them patterns, styles, and structures, but it doesn't teach them what is preferred. There's no consistent large-scale data that says this design is objectively better than that one, according to humans. Without a benchmark, there's no pressure for the models to improve on this dimension.
So they can replicate, but they can't truly discern. They can create a technically flawless copy of a Rembrandt, but they don't understand why it's a masterpiece.
Precisely. Think of it like a chef in training who has memorized every recipe in the world. They can follow instructions to the letter and produce a dish that is technically correct, but they have no palate. They don't know if the dish is actually delicious, if the flavors are balanced, if it creates a delightful experience for the diner. They can replicate, but they can't innovate or refine based on taste.
And what Design Arena is doing, in essence, is building the world's most sophisticated palette for AI.
That's the perfect analogy. They are creating that missing feedback loop. The platform works by crowdsourcing human preference at a massive scale. It presents thousands of users with head-to-head comparisons of AI-generated designs, be it an image, a UI component, a logo, or other creative assets. Users simply vote for the one they find more aesthetically pleasing. It's like an endless hot or not for the AI era, as one of the founders put it.
It sounds incredibly simple on the surface, but the implications are profound. Each vote, each simple choice between A or B becomes a single data point. When you have hundreds of thousands of users making millions of these choices, you're no longer dealing with subjective opinion. You're generating a quantitative, statistically significant data set that reflects collective human taste.
And that data set is the entire business. It's the moat. The platform is just the vehicle for creating the data. This is what we call a data-first company. The proprietary dataset on human aesthetic preference is a component that is critically missing for training the next generation of AI models. The big AI labs are their primary customers because this data allows them to fine-tune their models, to go beyond just technical correctness and start optimizing for human appeal.
Let's talk about the founders, because their background seems tailor-made for this venture. CEO Grace Lee and CTO Cameron Ollie are both Harvard computer science graduates who previously worked at Apple. You can't hear Apple without thinking design.
Their experience is a huge asset. Working at a company that has built its empire on superior design and user experience gives them a unique insight into the value of aesthetics. They've seen firsthand how seemingly small design choices can translate into massive market advantages. They understand that look and feel isn't a superficial layer, it's core to a product's success.
And they experienced this problem directly. They were originally working on an AI game engine and found that the models were terrible at generating graphics with any soul. They built the this or that comparison tool for their own internal use to pick the best outputs, and only then realized that the benchmarking tool itself was the more valuable product.
It's a classic startup origin story, scratching your own itch. And their solution is so elegant. For the end user, it's a simple, almost gamified experience. But for the AI model companies, this data is gold. It provides a way to measure and improve on things that were previously considered unmeasurable, like taste, usability, and beauty. This is a form of reinforcement learning from human feedback, or RLHF, but hyper-focused on the domain of aesthetics.
What about traction? Is this just a clever idea, or is it gaining momentum?
The momentum is significant. They already have large AI model companies as early customers, which validates the demand side of the equation immediately. And on the supply side, they have hundreds of thousands of users who have contributed rankings on the platform. This proves that people are willing to engage and provide this feedback, creating the flywheel that makes the whole business work.
Let's break down that flywheel, because it's key to their defensibility. More users provide more ranking data. More data makes the benchmark more accurate and valuable. This higher value data attracts more high-paying customers, like the big AI labs. The revenue from those customers can then be used to acquire even more users, perhaps through incentives or marketing, which in turn generates even more data. It's a powerful, self-reinforcing loop.
And it's a true network effect. The dataset becomes more valuable with each new user and each new vote, making it incredibly difficult for a competitor to catch up. A new entrant would start with zero data and would have to somehow convince users and customers to switch to a less valuable platform. Design Arena is essentially building a unique and defensible data moat by quantifying the subjective nature of good design.
This feels like it goes far beyond just generating prettier images for social media. What are the broader implications here?
Think about it this way. Every single industry that relies on visual communication is a potential market. An AI trained on Design Arena's data could help a marketing team generate ad creatives that are not just on brand, but are statistically more likely to be visually appealing and thus have a higher conversion rate. It could help a product designer generate dozens of UI mockups that are optimized for user delight, not just usability.
It connects directly back to what we discussed in our last episode with Dedalus Labs. You could have an autonomous AI agent running on Dedalus's infrastructure tasked with building a new e-commerce app. Without this aesthetic data, it might build a functional but clunky and ugly app. But an agent armed with a model fine-tuned on Design Arena's data could autonomously design a beautiful, intuitive, and trustworthy interface that users actually enjoy using.
Exactly. It's the difference between an AI that can build a house and an AI that can be an architect. This is about elevating the role of AI from a pure executor of tasks to a partner with a refined sense of taste. It's a foundational feedback loop for the entire generative AI industry.
So the key takeaway here is that while many companies are building bigger and faster AI models, Design Arena has identified a crucial missing piece of the puzzle: the data that teaches these models what humans actually like. They are turning the abstract and subjective concept of good design into a tangible, quantifiable, and incredibly valuable asset.
That's the heart of it. The next frontier for AI isn't just about what it can do, but how well it can align with human preferences and values. Aesthetics are a core part of that. Design Arena is building a fundamental utility, a taste as a service, if you will, that could become an essential layer for anyone building user-facing AI applications.
This has been a fascinating look at the qualitative side of AI development. It shows that the future isn't just about brute force computation, but also about nuance, taste, and human-centric data.
And it sets up our next episode perfectly. We've explored the infrastructure that runs AI and the data that trains its taste. Next time, we're going to shift gears from the purely digital to the intensely physical. We'll look at a company that is using technology not to generate pixels, but to move palettes.
That's right. We'll be diving into Getasap Asia, a startup that's building a technology-driven distribution network to bring Amazon-level logistics to tens of thousands of local retailers in Southeast Asia. We'll explore how they're combining proprietary software with real-world fulfillment centers to disrupt a massive legacy industry. It's a brilliant case study in applying the startup playbook to a business of atoms, not just bits. Join us next time. Welcome to Top Y Combinator Startups, Summer 2025 batch, where we dissect the companies building the future. In our last discussion, we explored the abstract, almost philosophical challenge of teaching AI what good design is with Design Arena. They're building a data moat around human aesthetic preference, a world of bits and subjective value. Today, we're taking a hard turn from the world of pure data to the world of physical atoms, of grit, traffic, and the complex, tangible flow of goods.
It's a fascinating contrast. We're moving from a problem of digital perception to one of physical execution. The question we're exploring today is a massive one. How do you bring the hyper-efficiency of 21st century e-commerce to the millions of small, independent retailers that form the backbone of some of the world's fastest-growing economies? How can a tiny corner shop in Southeast Asia possibly compete with the logistical might of an Amazon?
Exactly. This isn't about a slightly better SaaS tool. This is about rewiring the physical infrastructure of commerce for an entire region. And the company from the YC Summer 2025 batch that's tackling this head-on is Getasap Asia. We're going to break down their full-stack logistics model, dig into the proprietary technology that makes it possible, and examine the incredible traction they've achieved in a remarkably short time.
And it's a story that really highlights how some of the most impactful tech companies aren't just writing code. They're orchestrating a complex dance between software and the real world. Getasap is, at its heart, a B2B e-commerce and logistics company. They have built a distribution network specifically for retailers across Southeast Asia. Think of everyone from the smallest family-run corner store to established supermarket chains.
And their core promise is a game changer in that market: 8-hour same-day delivery for groceries and supplies. This is a level of service that was previously unimaginable for these businesses, which have always been at the mercy of slow, inefficient, and often unreliable legacy distributors.
To make that promise a reality, they operate their own network of urban fulfillment centers. These aren't massive warehouses out in the middle of nowhere. They are strategically placed within cities to be close to the customers they serve. This physical footprint is the first piece of their puzzle. It allows them to hold inventory close to the point of demand, which is critical for enabling that rapid same-day turnaround.
So they're not just a software layer on top of existing infrastructure. They are building the infrastructure itself. That's a capital-intensive and operationally complex decision.
It is, and that's a key part of their defensibility. But it's crucial to understand that the physical infrastructure alone isn't the magic. The traditional distribution system in many of these markets is like a long, winding country road. A truck might pick up goods from a central depot, make dozens of stops over a day or two, and the shop owner has very little visibility into when their stock will actually arrive. It's slow, unpredictable, and inefficient.
And inventory management for the shop owner becomes a nightmare. You either overstock and tie up precious capital, or you understock and risk losing sales when a popular item is gone.
Precisely. Getasap's model is more like building a modern highway system, directly connecting the supply to the demand. Their urban fulfillment centers are the interchanges, and their proprietary software is the advanced traffic control system. This is what's meant by a full-stack logistics model. It's the seamless integration of their physical assets, the fulfillment centers and delivery fleet, with a powerful software brain.
Let's dive deeper into that software brain. That's where the real technological moat lies. What is it actually doing?
It's doing a few things that are incredibly powerful when combined. First, it's managing inventory with extreme precision. The software has real-time visibility into stock levels at every fulfillment center, and even has predictive analytics to forecast demand based on data from the tens of thousands of retailers they serve. This means they can stock the right products in the right locations, minimizing waste and ensuring availability. Second, it handles order processing and routing optimization. When a shop owner places an order through Getasap's platform, the system instantly determines the optimal fulfillment center, the best delivery route to bundle that order with others, and the most efficient path for the driver to take, accounting for real-time traffic and other variables.
So it's a classic traveling salesman problem, but scaled to a massive dynamic urban environment. The efficiency gains from optimizing those routes alone must be substantial.
They are enormous. We're talking about saving fuel, saving time, and increasing the number of deliveries a single vehicle can make in a day. It's what allows them to profitably offer that 8-hour delivery window. Without that software layer, their physical fulfillment centers would just be warehouses. With it, they become highly efficient, intelligent logistics hubs. This combination of owning the physical infrastructure and optimizing it with proprietary software creates a moat that is incredibly difficult for a competitor to cross. You can't just build an app, and you can't just build warehouses. You have to build both and make them work in perfect harmony.
This is the kind of business that requires a unique blend of operational excellence and deep technical talent. Which brings us to the founders. The story here is quite compelling. The CEO, Raghav Arora, founded the company as a teenager.
It's an incredible founder story. To have that vision and the drive to tackle such a complex, real-world problem at that age is remarkable. It speaks to a deep, intrinsic understanding of the market's pain points. And he's balanced by a CTO, Pranav Krishna Suresh, who brings serious technical horsepower from his time at Georgia Tech and, crucially, at Amazon Web Services. That experience at AWS, a company that understands scaling infrastructure better than almost anyone, is invaluable for what they are building.
The market has certainly responded to this combination of vision, execution, and talent. The traction numbers are staggering for a company at this stage. They're already supplying approximately 40,000 retail outlets. That's not a small beta test. That's significant market penetration.
And it's not just small shops. The fact that they serve 18 different supermarket chains is a massive proof point. Supermarket chains have complex procurement processes and demand a high level of reliability. Winning their business demonstrates that Getasap's model is robust and can scale to meet the needs of larger, more demanding clients. This isn't just an idea. It's a proven, revenue-generating machine, reportedly already in the millions.
And a funding round led by a top-tier firm like General Catalyst is the ultimate vote of confidence from the investment community. They don't invest in ideas, they invest in validated businesses with clear paths to dominating a large market.
Absolutely. That funding provides the capital to continue building out their physical footprint, to hire more engineers to refine their software, and to expand into new markets. What makes Getasap so compelling and a clear standout in this YC batch is that it ticks all the boxes. You have an inspiring founder story, a massive and historically underserved market, a technologically defensible moat built on a full-stack model, and the hard numbers, revenue and customer count to back it all up.
It's a powerful demonstration that massive venture-scale outcomes aren't limited to pure software. They can come from tackling messy, complex, real-world problems by combining atoms and bits in a novel way.
That's the key takeaway here. The future of commerce in these emerging markets won't be a carbon copy of the West. Getasap isn't just an Amazon for B2B. It's building a new kind of logistical fabric, one that empowers incumbent retailers rather than trying to replace them. It's leveling the playing field, giving the corner store the same supply chain efficiency as a multinational giant. That's not just a business model, it's a powerful economic enabler for an entire ecosystem of small and medium-sized businesses.
A fantastic summary. We've gone from the world of abstract data with Design Arena to the intensely physical logistics of Getasap Asia. We've seen how technology can organize both pixels and packages. This brings up an interesting question for our next episode. We see software being used to optimize and fix real-world systems, but what happens when the software gets so advanced it can start fixing itself?
That's a fascinating thought. A system that can self-diagnose and self-heal.
Exactly. Next time on Top Y Combinator Startups Summer 2025 batch, we're diving back into the world of deep tech and developer tools to look at Keystone. It's a startup building an AI on-call engineer that can autonomously detect, triage, and even write the code to resolve production bugs. It's a leap toward truly autonomous software systems, and the founder story is one you won't want to miss. Welcome back to Top Y Combinator Startups Summer 2025 batch. In our last episode, we dissected how Getasap Asia is revolutionizing physical logistics, building a high-speed distribution network that brings Amazon-level efficiency to neighborhood shops in Southeast Asia. We talked about the power of a full-stack model, combining physical infrastructure with smart software. Today, we're shifting from the world of physical goods to the purely digital realm. But the theme of infrastructure remains. We're looking at a startup that's building the next generation of infrastructure for software itself, a company that aims to make human intervention in production emergencies a thing of the past.
Exactly. We're talking about a fundamental and frankly universal pain point for any company that runs on software: when things break, and they always break. For decades, the solution has been the on-call engineer, that bleary-eyed developer woken up at 3 a.m. by a frantic alert. But what if the first responder wasn't a person at all? What if it was an AI that could not only diagnose the problem, but actually fix it autonomously? This episode, we're diving deep into Keystone, an AI on-call engineer designed to do just that. We'll explore how it works, the incredible background of its very young founder, and why a multi-million-dollar acquisition offer was already turned down before they even left the starting gate.
It's a massive leap forward from the current state of DevOps. Right now, the best tools are primarily about detection and alerting. They're fantastic at telling you that something is broken and where it might be broken. Think of systems like Datadog or PagerDuty. They're like a hypersensitive smoke detector. They'll wake you up, show you where the smoke is, and maybe even give you a chemical analysis of the smoke. But they absolutely cannot put out the fire. The heavy lifting, the actual debugging and patching, is still a deeply human, often stressful, and expensive process.
That's the perfect analogy. The industry has perfected the alarm system. Keystone is aiming to build the automated sprinkler system, the fire suppression foam, and the robotic repair crew all in one. It's a shift from assisted monitoring to autonomous remediation. The core idea is to create an AI that doesn't just read logs and metrics, but reads the actual source code. It needs to understand the logic, the dependencies, and the architecture of an application in the same way a senior engineer does. When a ticket comes in or an alert fires, Keystone is designed to trace the issue from the symptom all the way back to the specific lines of code that caused it, and then, most impressively, write and deploy the patch itself.
The technical challenge there is astronomical. For an AI to effectively read and understand a complex proprietary codebase is one thing. That requires sophisticated code analysis, understanding context, and integrating with a company's specific production environment. But to go from reading to writing, to autonomously generating a code fix that doesn't introduce new worse bugs, that's the holy grail of AI ops. This isn't just a souped-up linter or a static analysis tool. It's an agent with the authority to modify production code. The level of trust required is immense.
It is, and that trust is built on the founder's background. We're talking about Pablo Hansen, who is only 20 years old. This isn't just a case of a young, ambitious founder. His credentials are top tier. He completed a master's degree in AI by the time he was 19. More importantly, he was the first engineer at another successful YC-backed startup called Onyx. This isn't his first rodeo within the Y Combinator ecosystem. He has direct, first-hand experience with the pressures of a high-growth startup environment and presumably felt the pain of being on call himself. He knows the problem intimately, and he possesses the deep technical AI expertise to envision a radical solution.
That YC connection is crucial. Being the first engineer at a YC company gives you an incredibly compressed and intense education in building and scaling software. You see the entire life cycle, from initial deployment to the inevitable production fires. To go from that experience to founding Keystone suggests a direct problem-solution pathway. He didn't just stumble upon an interesting AI problem, he lived the operational nightmare that his company is now trying to solve. This personal experience is often the bedrock of the most successful technical founders.
And it informs the product's unique value proposition. Keystone's moat isn't just that it's an AI for DevOps. Its real defensibility comes from its end-to-end autonomous nature. Plenty of tools can help triage tickets by suggesting potential causes or pointing to relevant dashboards. Keystone's ambition is to close the loop entirely. Imagine a bug is reported by a user. A ticket is created in Jira. Keystone is integrated with the system, so it sees the ticket, analyzes the user report, dives into the production logs, identifies the errant microservice, reads its source code from the repository, pinpoints the faulty function, writes a patch, tests it in a staging environment, and deploys the fix to production. The on-call engineer might only get a notification after the fact, saying, "I found this issue, here's how I fixed it, and the patch is now live."
The potential impact of that workflow is staggering. The mean time to resolution, or MTTR, is one of the most critical metrics for any software reliability team. A lower MTTR means less downtime, happier customers, and less revenue lost. The traditional process involves a human noticing an alert, another human triaging it, escalating it to the right engineer, that engineer waking up, logging on, diagnosing the issue, developing a fix, getting it reviewed, and then deploying it. This can take hours, sometimes days. Keystone promises to compress that entire cycle down to minutes. For businesses where uptime is directly tied to revenue, think e-commerce, finance, or SaaS, that is a game-changing value proposition.
It really is. Think of it like an emergency room. The current system is like having a single, brilliant doctor on call for the entire hospital. When the pager goes off, they have to drive in, scrub up, review the charts, and then perform the surgery. Keystone is like having an advanced robotic surgeon already present in every operating room, capable of instantly diagnosing and treating the most common and critical conditions the moment they arise. The human doctor can then focus on the truly novel, complex cases, the unknown unknowns, rather than the repetitive, known failure patterns. It frees up an organization's most expensive and creative resources, its senior engineers, to build new products instead of constantly firefighting.
And the market has clearly recognized this potential. The fact that Keystone has already turned down a multi-million-dollar acquisition offer is one of the most powerful signals of confidence and traction you can see in a startup at this stage. An acquisition offer isn't just validation, it's an attempt by a larger incumbent player to buy their way into the future. For a founder to reject that kind of life-changing money means they believe, with very high conviction, that the company they are building is worth vastly more. It says, we are not a feature, we are a foundational platform, and we are just getting started.
That rejection speaks volumes. It's a testament to the founder's vision and the early feedback they're getting from their beta clients. Deploying an AI with the ability to alter production code is not something companies do lightly. The fact that they have clients willing to integrate Keystone at this early stage demonstrates an acute level of pain with the status quo. These are likely companies that have calculated the immense cost of downtime and engineer burnout and see Keystone not as a risk, but as a necessary evolution. The acquisition offer is external validation, but the adoption by beta clients is the internal ground truth validation that really matters.
So when we put all the pieces together, the picture becomes incredibly clear why Keystone is one of the most sought-after companies in this YC batch. You have a founder with a rare combination of youth, deep AI expertise, and relevant startup experience. You have a product tackling a massive, expensive, and universal problem for virtually every technology company in the world, and you have a solution that represents a true paradigm shift, moving from passive monitoring to active autonomous remediation.
It's the confluence of all those factors. It's not just a clever application of AI, it's a deeply technical solution aimed at a core business process that is ripe for disruption. The rejected acquisition offer is the cherry on top, a powerful signal that both the market and the founder know just how big this could be. Keystone isn't just building a better tool for on-call engineers, it's building their replacement, or at the very least, their most powerful collaborator. It's a fundamental reimagining of software reliability.
Absolutely. We've seen how Keystone is applying advanced AI to solve a deeply technical infrastructural problem in the world of software. It's about creating systems that are self-healing and resilient. In our next episode, we're going to stay on the theme of AI, but apply it to a profoundly human problem, loneliness. We'll be looking at a startup that's using AI as a different kind of troubleshooter.
That's right. We'll be discussing RealRoots, an AI friendship matchmaker for women. It uses a conversational AI coach to understand users and then curates real-world group meetups to help build genuine platonic friendships. We'll explore how they achieved explosive monetization right out of the gate, proving just how much value there is in solving this very personal and very widespread social need. It's a fascinating shift from code to human connection, and we'll break it all down next time.
You are listening to Top Y Combinator Startups Summer 2025 Batch, the podcast that dissects the engineering, strategy, and market dynamics behind the most promising companies emerging from YC.
Last week, we delved into the world of autonomous systems with Keystone, an AI that acts as an on-call engineer, patching production code while its human counterparts are asleep. It was a masterclass in applying AI to solve incredibly complex, logical problems within a machine environment.
It truly was, but it raises a compelling question. What happens when you take that same level of AI sophistication and apply it not to the cold, hard logic of a codebase, but to the infinitely more complex and nuanced domain of human relationships? How do you engineer a solution for a problem as deeply personal as loneliness?
That is precisely the question at the heart of our focus today. We're shifting from the back-end to the front-facing human experience to look at a company tackling one of the largest and most underserved markets in the consumer space.
Today, we are breaking down RealRoots. We'll explore their unique model of using a conversational AI as a friendship matchmaker. We will dissect how they blend this AI-driven profiling with curated real-world group events. And, most critically, we'll try to get to the bottom of how they achieved one of the most explosive examples of early-stage monetization we have ever seen.
This is a crucial evolution of the conversation around consumer AI. For years, the focus has been on engagement metrics, on keeping users glued to a screen. RealRoots is built on a counterintuitive premise that the ultimate success of their AI is measured by the quality of the offline human connections it facilitates. It's a fascinating and potentially far more valuable application.
Let's start with the core problem. The market for romantic connection is saturated with dating apps, but the market for platonic friendship, particularly for adults who have moved to a new city or are in a new phase of life, is a ghost town by comparison. Why has this problem been so difficult to solve?
Because friendship is a fundamentally higher friction problem than dating. The intent is less clear, the social scripts aren't as well defined, and the vulnerability required to say, "I'm looking for friends," is often higher than saying, "I'm looking for a partner." Previous attempts were essentially platonic dating apps, swiping on profiles, which is an awkward and often ineffective paradigm for friendship. It misses the context.
So how does RealRoots approach this differently? What is the fundamental mechanism?
They've built a two-stage system, and this is the key. The first stage is the AI coach. This isn't a static 20-question survey. It's a deep, conversational AI that engages the user in a dialogue to understand their personality, their communication style, their values, their sense of humor, and what they genuinely need from a friendship. It goes beyond surface-level interests like hiking or movies and gets to the core of their social dynamics.
This creates a far richer user profile than any competitor. It's a multi-dimensional psychological and social graph for each user, built not from clicks and likes, but from an actual conversation.
Precisely. And that rich data feeds the second stage, which is where the magic really happens. The AI doesn't just present you with a list of potential friends and say, good luck. That's the failure of the old model. Instead, it acts as a social curator. It identifies a small group, say 4 to 6 women, who have an extremely high compatibility score, and then proactively organizes a real-world meetup for them. It might be a reservation at a specific restaurant, tickets to a particular gallery, or a spot in a pottery class.
It's removing the two biggest points of failure in forming new adult friendships, the awkward initial outreach and the logistical nightmare of planning a group activity. The AI handles both.
It's like having an incredibly intuitive and efficient social secretary. Think about the traditional approach. It's like being dropped in a massive library and told the perfect book for you is in there somewhere. You might wander the aisles for hours and leave with nothing. RealRoots is like a master librarian who has already read every book, asks you a few insightful questions, and then walks you directly to a small, curated shelf and says, the 4 books on this shelf are exactly what you're looking for right now. It's the difference between searching and being served a complete, ready-to-consume experience.
And this complete experience model seems to be the linchpin of their entire strategy, especially when we look at the numbers. They generated $782,000 in sales from roughly 9,000 paying users in a single month. That is staggering. It implies an average revenue per paying user of around $87 for that month alone. That's not a typical subscription fee.
It isn't. And that's because they're not selling a subscription to a platform. They are selling tickets to a high-value, curated social experience. The user isn't just paying for access to a database of profiles. They are paying for a guaranteed, well-planned social outing with a group of people they are algorithmically predicted to get along with. The perceived value of that is an order of magnitude higher than a $9.99 monthly subscription to a swiping app.
This immediately screams product-market fit. This isn't a slow burn of users testing a free service. This is a large cohort of users identifying a significant pain point in their lives and being willing to pay a premium price to have it solved immediately. The revenue is the clearest signal of the problem's severity and the solution's effectiveness.
And it's where the background of the founders, Dorothy Lai and Para Capel, becomes so evidently crucial. Coming from founding and early product lead roles at Cambly and Brilliant respectively, they have deep expertise in building and monetizing consumer marketplaces and communities. They understand user activation and perceived value. They didn't just build a clever AI, they built a robust business model around it from day one.
Let's talk about the moat here. A cynical view might be that any major social network could just copy this feature. What makes the RealRoots model defensible?
The defensibility is multi-layered. First, there's the data. The conversational AI gathers a type of deep, nuanced data about social preferences that a traditional social network, which primarily tracks clicks and content interactions, simply doesn't have. This specialized dataset becomes a powerful asset for refining the matching algorithm.
It's a classic data network effect. Better data leads to better matches, which leads to more successful events and happier users. Those users then provide more high-quality data through feedback, and the flywheel accelerates.
Exactly. But there's a second, more powerful moat, the real-world logistics and community network. RealRoots is building local, city-by-city operational capabilities. They're forming partnerships with venues, learning the social geography of each city, and building a reputation. As they successfully create pods of friends, those pods become brand evangelists. This creates a local liquidity and density that is incredibly difficult for a large centralized competitor to replicate from scratch. You can't just flip a switch and have 1,000 curated dinner parties happening in Chicago next week.
It's a ground game, powered by a highly sophisticated air game in the form of the AI. The combination is what makes it so powerful. The AI solves the scaling problem of matching, while the localized real-world events build a sticky, defensible community.
And it solves the cold start problem that plagues so many social apps. A user's first experience isn't an empty feed or a database of strangers. Their first experience is a concrete invitation to a planned event. That immediately demonstrates value and creates a much smoother path to monetization and long-term engagement.
So the key takeaway here seems to be a masterclass in product design and business model innovation. RealRoots identified a massive, emotionally charged problem that other tech companies had ignored or failed to solve.
They did, and they realized that the solution wasn't purely technological. The most potent application of their AI was as a facilitator for real-world connection, not a replacement for it. By creating a hybrid model that blends a sophisticated digital coach with a tangible offline experience, they unlocked a level of user value that commanded premium pricing right out of the gate.
The nearly $800,000 in monthly revenue isn't just a vanity metric. It is the quantitative proof of an immediate and overwhelming product-market fit. They demonstrated that if you can genuinely and effectively solve the problem of adult loneliness, the market will respond with incredible force.
It's a fundamental shift from building tools to building complete end-to-end solutions for core human needs. That feels like a very powerful paradigm for the next wave of consumer AI.
From an AI matching friends in the real world, we're going to pivot next week back into the heart of the enterprise. We will be exploring an AI that operates in one of the most complex and regulated environments there is, the insurance industry.
That's right. We'll be looking at Solva, a startup founded by industry veterans that is building what they call Harvey for insurance. It's an AI platform designed to automate the intricate and costly process of claims processing, targeting a market where hundreds of billions of dollars are lost annually to inefficiencies.
It's a perfect contrast. From the nuanced, emotional world of human friendship to the rigid, rule-based world of insurance claims. It will be a fascinating look at how AI is being tailored to solve problems at opposite ends of the spectrum. Join us next time. Welcome to another deep dive from Top Y Combinator Startups Summer 2025 batch. Last week, we explored how RealRoots is using conversational AI to tackle one of the most fundamentally human problems, loneliness. It was a fascinating look at AI as a social matchmaker, building bridges between people in the real world. But what happens when you take that same fundamental technology, AI's ability to understand, process, and act on complex information, and apply it not to the messy world of human emotion, but to one of the most rigid, regulated, and frankly, archaic industries on the planet? What if AI could plug a leak that's quietly draining hundreds of billions of dollars a year from a sector we all depend on?
That's the core question for today. We're shifting from the consumer-facing world of social networks to the backbone of the enterprise world, insurance. It's an industry built on paper, precedent, and painstaking manual review. It's also an industry hemorrhaging cash due to inefficiencies. We're talking about a slow, methodical process that costs companies an estimated $200 billion annually in errors, waste, and improper payouts. It's a staggering figure, hidden in plain sight within the operational overhead of every major carrier. Today, we're looking at a startup that aims to cauterize that wound with AI. We're talking about Solva.
And Solva's approach is surgically precise. They've developed an AI platform designed to automate the routine, repetitive, yet critically important task of insurance claims processing. Their system is pitched as Harvey for insurance, which is a powerful comparison. It suggests a sophisticated AI assistant, not just a simple automation tool. These AI agents are designed to read and comprehend complex claim documents, from medical reports to accident statements, extract the relevant data, populate the necessary internal forms, and, most importantly, flag discrepancies that a human might miss.
Let's break down what that really means in practice. Imagine you're a claims adjuster. Your day is an avalanche of PDFs, scanned documents, and emails. A single claim could involve a police report, multiple medical invoices, a mechanic's estimate, and witness statements. Each document has a different format, different terminology, and contains dozens of critical data points. Your job is to manually read through all of it, cross-reference the information, ensure it aligns with the customer's policy, and then input dozens, if not hundreds, of fields into your company's claims management system. It's slow, it's tedious, and it's incredibly prone to human error. A single misplaced decimal point or a misread policy clause could cost thousands of dollars.
Exactly. Now, picture the Solva system. That same pile of documents is ingested by its AI. It uses natural language processing to understand the text, computer vision to recognize the structure of different forms, and a sophisticated rules engine to check the data against the specific policy and regulatory requirements. It doesn't just pull out the name and date, it understands context. It knows that right anterior descending artery is a medical term relevant to a health claim, and it knows that quarter panel damage is relevant to an auto claim. It fills out the internal forms in seconds and then presents the human adjuster with a clean, pre-processed file highlighting any potential red flags. The date of the accident on the police report does not match the date provided by the claimant. Or, this medical procedure is not covered under the insurance policy. The human is elevated from a data entry clerk to a decision-making auditor.
It's like giving every single claims adjuster a team of hyper-efficient, infinitely focused paralegals. But this only works if the team building it understands the nuances of this world. And that's where Solva's founding story becomes so compelling. This isn't a group of fresh-faced coders who just discovered the insurance industry. The CEO, Herman Bavarud Olsen, is a veteran insurtech founder. The COO, Serena Amini, is a former fintech product executive. And the CTO, Linus Malman, is a neobank co-founder. They have lived and breathed the complexities of regulated financial services.
That's the critical piece of the puzzle. Building a generic AI to read documents is one thing. Building an AI that can navigate the labyrinthine regulations of the insurance industry, which vary by state, by country, and by policy type, is an entirely different challenge. The founders' collective experience in insurtech, fintech, and neobanking means they aren't just building a technology, they're building a compliance engine. They understand the paramount importance of security, data privacy, and auditability. This deep domain expertise is Solva's foundational moat. They're not selling a cool piece of tech, they're selling trust and reliability to a deeply risk-averse industry.
And that brings us to their most important feature, the concept of verifiable AI with an audit trail. This is the antidote to the black box problem that makes so many enterprises nervous about AI. A typical AI might give you the right answer, but it can't always show you its work. It's like a brilliant but eccentric mathematician who just writes the solution on the board without any of the intermediate steps. You might trust that the answer is correct, but a regulator won't.
Solva's system, by contrast, is designed to be an open book. For every decision it makes, every piece of data it extracts, and every flag it raises, it maintains a clear, traceable log. The AI can say, I flagged this claim because the value in field 7B of the medical invoice, which I identified here, exceeds the coverage limit defined in Section 4, Paragraph 2 of the policy document, located here, highlights policy. It shows its work. An auditor can retrace the AI's thinking step by step. This isn't just a feature, it's the core requirement for operating in a highly regulated space. It transforms the AI from a mysterious oracle into a transparent and accountable tool.
It's the difference between a self-driving car that just gets you to your destination and one that provides a detailed log of every sensor reading, every decision it made at every intersection, and the rationale behind those decisions. For a consumer, the destination is enough. For the Department of Transportation investigating an incident, the log is everything. Solva is building the AI for the investigators, the auditors, and the compliance officers. That's why they're getting so much traction.
And the traction is undeniable. They secured $245,000 in annual recurring revenue in just 10 weeks after launching. In the world of enterprise B2B sales, that is lightning speed. A typical sales cycle for a large insurance carrier can take 6 months, a year, or even longer. It involves multiple layers of security reviews, compliance checks, and pilot programs. To get that much committed revenue that quickly indicates one thing: the pain point is excruciating. The insurance companies aren't just interested, they are desperate for a solution. Solva isn't having to convince them they have a problem, they're just showing up with the most credible solution.
This rapid adoption proves they've nailed the return on investment calculation. For a potential customer, the math is simple. We currently lose X million dollars a year to manual processing errors and overpayments. Solva costs Y. If X is significantly greater than Y, and the system is compliant and auditable, the decision is easy. Solva is selling a money-making machine. By reducing improper payouts and dramatically increasing the efficiency of their claims teams, the platform pays for itself almost immediately. This isn't a speculative bet on future productivity, it's a direct impact on the bottom line from day one.
So when you combine these elements, the Y Combinator investment thesis becomes crystal clear. You have a founding team with decades of relevant, hard-won experience in the target industry. You have a market that is both colossal, trillions of dollars, and plagued by a well-defined, expensive problem. You have a technologically sophisticated solution with a strong defensible moat built around domain-specific features like auditability. And finally, you have overwhelming proof of product-market fit in the form of incredibly rapid enterprise adoption and significant early revenue. It ticks every single box for what a breakout B2B success looks like.
It really is the perfect storm. They found a problem that is simultaneously boring and massive. There's no glamour in claims processing, but there are hundreds of billions of dollars in value to be unlocked. By building a tool that is precise, reliable, and transparent, they've managed to de-risk the adoption of AI for one of the world's most cautious industries. They're not trying to disrupt insurance in a confrontational way. They're providing the picks and shovels to help the incumbents operate in the 21st century. It's a masterclass in solving a real-world business problem with cutting-edge technology.
It's a powerful lesson in how the most impactful applications of AI might not be the ones that capture the public imagination, but the ones that quietly optimize the essential, invisible machinery of our economy. From using AI to forge human connections with RealRoots, we've now seen its power to enforce contracts and bring efficiency to a legacy system with Solva. It shows the incredible breadth of problems this technology can solve.
Absolutely. And it sets the stage for our next episode, where we see technology applied to an even more high-stakes environment. We're going to be moving from the world of financial risk to the world of physical threat.
That's right. We'll be looking at a company that is operating at the absolute edge of aerospace and robotics. Next time on Top Y Combinator Startups Summer 2025 batch, we'll be examining Perseus Defense, a startup founded by NASA and Boeing engineers who are building man-portable guided micromissiles designed to counter the growing threat of hostile drones. We'll be shifting from bits and bytes to ballistics. It's a conversation you won't want to miss. Welcome to Top Y Combinator Startups Summer 2025 batch. In our last episode, we explored how Solva's AI is creating order in the highly regulated world of insurance claims. Today, we pivot from digital paperwork to physical airspace, examining a company tackling one of the most urgent and tangible threats in modern national security.
We're talking about a fundamental shift in the nature of warfare. For centuries, military advantage was defined by large, expensive, and exquisitely engineered platforms, think aircraft carriers and stealth bombers. But what happens when a $1,000 drone, something you can buy online, can threaten a billion-dollar asset? This creates a massive economic and tactical imbalance. The question for military planners is no longer just how do we win, but how can we afford to win?
Exactly. And that sets the stage for our focus today. Perseus Defense. This is a YCS25 company that isn't building an app or a SaaS platform. They're building a solution to one of the most pressing national security challenges of our time, the proliferation of hostile drones. We'll be looking at the specific threat they're addressing, the elegance of their technical solution, man-portable micromissiles, and the absolutely stellar founding team that has attracted serious attention from the highest levels of the U.S. military.
This is a story about asymmetric warfare. It's a term we hear a lot, but drones have become its poster child. Smaller, less resourced groups can now leverage cheap, accessible technology to inflict disproportionate damage on a technologically superior force. Imagine you have a pest problem in your house, let's say a single mosquito. You could, theoretically, use a Patriot missile to take it out. It would be incredibly effective, but it would also cost you about $3 million and destroy your house.
That's a powerful, if destructive, analogy. And it's precisely the problem. Current premier anti-air systems are designed to intercept jets and ballistic missiles, not swarms of commercially derived drones. Using a multi-million-dollar interceptor on a drone that costs a few $1,000s is a losing economic equation. You can win every battle but bankrupt yourself in the process. This is the critical vulnerability that Perseus Defense is stepping in to solve.
So instead of the Patriot missile, Perseus is handing you a precision-engineered fly swatter. It's a tool designed for the specific threat. Their product is a man-portable, lightweight, guided micromissile. Think of a projectile small enough for a single soldier to carry, yet smart enough with its own onboard sensors and guidance systems to autonomously track and destroy a hostile drone. It's about creating a cost-effective, scalable, and mass-producible interceptor.
Let's talk about the team behind this, because in deep tech, and especially defense tech, the team's pedigree is paramount. The CEO is Dr. Jason Cornelius. His background is at NASA, where he was an aerospace engineer working on the Titan helicopter project. That's the drone designed to fly in the atmosphere of another planet. The CTO, Steve Messenger, is a robotics and autonomy expert who trained at Boeing.
That's an incredible combination of skills. Building a helicopter for Mars means solving for extreme constraints in weight, power, and autonomous navigation in an unknown environment. You can't have a joystick operator on Earth when the signal lag is over 20 minutes. That expertise in miniaturized, robust, and truly autonomous systems is directly applicable here.
Absolutely. And the Boeing experience in robotics is just as crucial. Hitting a small, fast, and erratically moving drone is a monumental challenge. It's not just about seeing the target, it's about predicting its path and maneuvering an interceptor to collide with it, all in a matter of seconds. This requires mastery of guidance, navigation, and control systems, all of which have to be shrunk down to fit into a tiny airframe.
This technical moat is their core advantage. While many companies are working on counter-UAS or anti-drone solutions, they often fall into a few categories: electronic warfare systems that jam signals, net guns, or high-energy lasers. Jamming is great, but it can cause collateral damage to friendly communications. Lasers are promising, but can be affected by atmospheric conditions. Perseus is focused on a kinetic kill solution, physically destroying the threat, but in a way that is affordable enough to be deployed everywhere.
This is the idea of ubiquitous defense. The goal isn't just to protect a high-value military base, but to make this level of protection scalable for convoys, forward operating bases, and even critical civilian infrastructure. The emphasis on a man-portable system is key. It means you don't need a specialized vehicle or a large fixed installation. Any soldier can, in principle, provide an anti-air defense bubble.
And the market is validating this approach in a big way. Their traction isn't measured in monthly recurring revenue like a SaaS company. It's measured in interest and validation from the most discerning customer in the world, the U.S. Department of Defense. Perseus has received strong interest from the U.S. Army and other military branches, leading to invitations for system demonstrations. They've even briefed the U.S. Congress.
That kind of access is unheard of for such an early-stage startup. It signals that they are not just pushing a solution in search of a problem. The problem is so acute that the customer is actively pulling the solution out of them. Y Combinator's recent interest in defense tech, with investments in companies like Aris Industries building low-cost missiles, shows that Silicon Valley is recognizing this pull from the DoD. There's an understanding that the speed and innovation of the startup world are desperately needed to address rapidly evolving threats.
So the key takeaway here is about matching the solution to the threat, not just technically, but economically. The rise of cheap, autonomous drones has created a strategic imbalance. Perseus Defense is rebalancing that equation. They are not just building a missile, they are building an economic counterargument. By creating a low-cost, scalable, and highly effective interceptor, they nullify the cost advantage that makes drone swarms so dangerous.
It's a perfect synthesis of an elite technical team, a well-defined and urgent problem, and a highly differentiated solution. The founders' deep expertise from NASA and Boeing gives them the credibility to solve the incredibly hard technical challenges of miniaturized guidance and autonomous intercept. The validation from the Army and Congress confirms they are on the right track to solving a multi-billion-dollar national security problem.
We've seen how AI can re-architect a legacy industry like insurance, and how advanced hardware can redefine the battlefield. It really showcases the incredible breadth of this YC batch. From protecting financial assets to protecting lives, the core principles are often the same. Find a critical problem and apply world-class talent to it.
An excellent point. And moving from the hardware of defense, next time we'll be exploring the software of human interaction. We're going to look at a company that is using AI to tackle one of the most fundamental human endeavors, learning to speak a new language.
It's a fascinating shift from averting threats to building connections. We'll be discussing Pingo AI, a company that has seen explosive growth by giving language learners what they need most, a tireless, judgment-free partner to practice speaking with. It's another huge market being reshaped by a clever application of technology. Join us next time.
Welcome to the final installment of Top Y Combinator Startups Summer 2025 batch. We've journeyed through a landscape of incredible innovation this season, from deep tech to enterprise SaaS. In our last episode, we delved into the world of hard defense with Perseus Defense, a company building tangible, physical micromissiles to protect our airspace. It was a story of atoms, robotics, and national security.
Today, we pivot from the external battlefield to an internal one, a battlefield many of us have fought on, the struggle to learn a new language. We're moving from the world of atoms to the world of bits and neurons. The challenge isn't protecting ourselves from a physical threat, but from the internal anxieties and practical hurdles of mastering a new tongue. The company we're looking at, Pingo AI, is tackling this head-on.
Precisely. The question is, in a market saturated with language apps, what makes one stand out? For decades, the promise of digital language learning has been just that, a promise. Most of us have downloaded an app, drilled flashcards for a few weeks, and then quietly let it fade into the background of our phones. We might learn words, but we don't learn to speak. So what is the fundamental piece of the puzzle that has been missing? And how has Pingo AI apparently found it, leading to one of the most explosive growth curves in the entire YC batch?
It's a fascinating question because it touches on the core of how we learn. Learning a language isn't like memorizing the periodic table. It's a performance skill, much like learning to play the piano or to dance. You can read all the books you want on music theory, understand the circle of fifths, the structure of a sonata, but you will never be able to play the piano until you sit down and physically practice, hitting the keys, making mistakes, and building that muscle memory.
So the gap is between passive knowledge and active skill.
Exactly. Traditional apps have been excellent at building that passive knowledge. They give you vocabulary, they teach you grammar rules, and they do it in a gamified, engaging way. But that's like giving a dancer a textbook on choreography. It's useful information, but it doesn't teach you the rhythm, the feel, the flow of movement. The single biggest barrier to fluency is the lack of consistent, accessible, and, crucially, judgment-free speaking practice. Where do you find someone to talk to in Spanish at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday who won't get tired or impatient as you stumble through your conjugations?
That's the exact void Pingo AI steps into. At its heart, it's an AI-powered mobile app, but that description doesn't do it justice. The founders, Michael Shing and Maury Schoenfeld, have engineered something that feels less like a tool and more like a companion. Xing has a history here, having already built a Chrome extension with 150,000 users, so he understands consumer product adoption. And Schoenfeld, a published author and experienced language learner, brings a deep empathy for the user's journey.
Their product isn't about drills or flashcards. It's about dialogue. It immerses you in realistic, daily conversations with an AI tutor. Imagine you want to practice ordering coffee. Instead of matching words on a screen, you open Pingo and have a conversation. You say, "Hello, I would like a coffee," and the AI responds. If you make a mistake, it doesn't just buzz with a red X. It offers a gentle, real-time correction within the flow of the conversation, much like a patient friend would.
This sounds like it directly addresses the performance skill aspect. You are, for all intents and purposes, performing the act of speaking.
It's the equivalent of having a flight simulator for conversation. A pilot wouldn't just read the flight manual, they spend hundreds of hours in a simulator, facing different scenarios, making mistakes, and learning in a safe, controlled environment. Pingo is a conversation simulator. You can crash and burn 100 times trying to ask for directions to the library, and there's no social penalty, there's no embarrassment. That removes the single biggest psychological barrier that stops people from practicing, the fear of looking foolish. This persistent AI companion becomes your dedicated sparring partner.
And this is where we see their unique moat forming. It's not just that they're using AI, it's how they're using it. Their entire focus is on solving that one massive unmet need, consistent, judgment-free speaking practice. They've sidestepped the gamified vocabulary niche and gone straight for the jugular of the language learning problem.
The moat deepens with every conversation a user has. Each interaction is a data point that trains their conversational AI to be more natural, more responsive, and a better teacher. With hundreds of thousands of users, they are building a data asset that becomes incredibly difficult for a competitor, even a large one, to replicate. It creates a powerful flywheel. More users lead to a better AI, which attracts more users.
And the market's validation of this approach is staggering. Let's look at the traction, because the numbers are almost hard to believe. They've reached approximately 300,000 users and, more importantly, $250,000 in monthly recurring revenue. For a consumer app in this space, that MRR figure is a massive signal of perceived value. People are willing to pay for a solution that actually works.
But the truly eye-popping metric is the growth rate, approaching 100% month over month. That isn't just growth, it's exponential. It signifies viral adoption. Users are having such a positive experience that they are organically sharing it with others. This is the holy grail for a consumer app, a product so good it markets itself. It's what investors dream of.
It's the classic signal of a breakout hit. When you see a growth curve that steep, it tells you the company has struck a rich vein of user demand. The why sought for YC becomes self-evident. You have a massive, evergreen market. People will always want to learn languages. You have a focused product that solves the single most significant pain point in that market in a novel way. And you have the quantitative proof in the form of a vertical revenue curve that the solution is resonating powerfully.
It's a perfect storm. The technology, specifically conversational AI, has finally reached a point where it can deliver this kind of experience convincingly. The founders have the perfect blend of skills, consumer product expertise from Zing, and deep domain understanding from Schoenfeld. And the market was desperately thirsty for a product that moved beyond memorization and into genuine communication.
I have to wonder, though, about the long-term defensibility against incumbents. What stops a giant with a billion-dollar budget from reorienting their strategy to focus on conversational AI and simply outmuscling Pingo?
It's a valid concern, but I believe Pingo's focus is its greatest defense. Large companies are like aircraft carriers. It takes a long time for them to turn. Their current products, user expectations, and revenue models are all built around the gamified, drill-based model. Shifting to a conversation-first approach would be a radical and risky overhaul. Pingo, on the other hand, is a speedboat. It was built from day one with a singular purpose. Its AI is being trained specifically on open-ended conversation, not multiple-choice questions. That head start in data and model refinement is significant. Furthermore, the companion aspect builds an emotional connection. Users feel a sense of progress and relationship with their AI tutor, which creates a stickiness that is difficult to disrupt with a simple feature clone.
That makes sense. The product isn't just a utility, it's an experience and a relationship, which fosters a much stronger form of user loyalty. When you look at the complete picture, it's a compelling case. A clear, painful problem, a technologically elegant solution, incredible founder market fit, and undeniable explosive traction.
It perfectly encapsulates the Y Combinator ethos. Find a real problem that people have, build something they love, and prove it with data. Pingo AI isn't just an app, it's a key that unlocks a fundamental human desire, the desire to connect with others through language.
It's a fitting place to end our series on the summer 2025 batch. We started with companies building the literal nuts and bolts of the future, and we've ended with a company that is rewiring how we learn and communicate. From the hardware of Perseus Defense to the software of the human mind with Pingo AI, the breadth of ambition has been remarkable. It's a powerful reminder that the next great breakthrough can come from anywhere.
It truly has been. This batch has shown us that innovation is flourishing across every sector imaginable, tackling problems both new and ancient. Pingo AI is a wonderful final example of how new technology, when applied with deep user empathy, can solve problems we've long since accepted as intractable. It's about empowering people to achieve their goals. And what's more fundamental than that? Thank you for joining us on this journey through the top Y Combinator startups of the summer 2025 batch.